Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Position on Sports Talk Show Post. Live streaming from the Position on Talk Show YouTube channel, also Facebook and Instagram. What's up, fam? We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We'll provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg, and this evening I'm joined by my regular partners in crime. I got my man J3. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening, brother?
What's up? Feeling real good.
We also got Ed in the building. How you feeling this evening, Ed?
Man, sometimes I wonder why I'm so blessed. I'm
good.
good. I'm good.
There you go. That's right.
Beautiful.
I feel you. We got the professor in the house. How you feeling, Professor J?
Praise the Lord, everybody. You know how it goes. Let's get it.
All right. We got my man Johnny in the building. What's up, Johnny?
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Last week I told a lie. I said this was me on my shirt. This is actually Mike. It's not me. It's actually Mike. Small lie.
I see all those Jordan brand emblems out there. And last but definitely not least, we got a special guest in the building. We got our man Marcus of Delay of Game. What's going on, Marcus? Welcome to the show, partner.
What up? Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Man, we're glad to have you. Appreciate you. And definitely tell your fellas that we appreciate you letting us come out and hang with us a little bit. And we definitely support your show. And we ask everybody else to check out the Layup Game when you have an opportunity. But this evening, we got two topics that we've been dying to get to. We got to talk about The Last Dance. We've been teasing this thing for about 5 weeks now. All 10 episodes are done. So we're going to get into it. And then this weekend, I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but on Showtime, there was a special called Basketball County in the Water that was executive produced by KD, Victor Oladipo, Quinn Cook, and KD's business partner. So we're going to hit those two documentaries this evening. And then, of course, we're going to hit you with some things that caught our eye during the week and then a final post of the evening. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Post. This is Position on Sports YouTube channel. So after 22 years being stored in a can, MJ finally gave the approval to release the final series documentary, which they titled The Last Dance. This has been the biggest sports hit worldwide for the past 5 weeks because we haven't had much sports. But of course, it was Michael Jordan. So let's get right into it. The title starts it all off, The Last Dance. What do y'all think about the Bulls and the reasoning about breaking up the Bulls dynasty?
Jerry Krause is a fool. There's no way in ATLL he should break up that team. I'm just sorry. I mean, you got a dynasty sitting here who's producing, who want to play with each other, and you're going to sit up here and break them up. Come on, man. Really? Are you serious?
So that's how you really feeling, J3?
Yeah, I'm with Joe. Because, I mean, his reasons can't go beyond his big, enormous ego that he had. And I think that had he been able to put that ego down, I mean, just his statement saying that, you know, the players aren't above management and that the management or the team makes the organization. I mean, come on. Players are a part of that. And yes, we give him credit for choosing some of the best talent in the world. But come on, man, I'm with Joe on that one.
So you're not buying that
before the fall.
Yeah, you're not buying that thing that a little statement that organizations win championships, not coaches and teams. That he said that they left out a word.
Yeah, here's what I think of that statement. It was about his ego over everything else. And I agree with the statement that organizations, when you include the players together, they make a collective championship team. But he was saying that because he wanted credit for what he put together, and he felt that he was being disrespected by the players.
I mean, we will give him some kind of credit. We will give him some credit because he did put the players together for them to play. But then you still got to keep in mind that Phil Jackson was the coach that made everything happen. So without the coach, man, I mean, yeah, Jerry, you did what you're supposed to. You got the players on the team, but you not above everybody else.
I think.
Come on, Ed. You've been dying to say something. Come on.
Well, I think before I say anything, we have to really understand that this documentary was signed off by Jordan. So, and I believe two of his friends, executive produced, confidant, close friends, executive produced this show. So you got to understand, if I'm producing the show, if I have ultimate control as far as content, then it's going to be portrayed the way I see it. Everything in this show is going to be, or if I was producing the show, it's going to be skewed or directed towards me looking good and someone else looking bad. After 10 hours of this documentary, The Last Dance, it's clear who the scapegoat was. That was Jerry Krause. Now, was that fair or unfair? We're going to get into that a lot tonight because I definitely have my opinions on that. But the one thing I will say about this whole thing is that I do ultimately believe that in championship sport, you have to defeat the champion. I think it's only fair that any champion, whether you're talking about boxing, baseball, football, whatever, I think you should at least have an opportunity to go down. Most dynasties in the NBA all suffered that fate. Prior to Detroit suffered the fate before the Bulls rose. Boston suffered that fate before Boston and LA suffered that fate before Detroit rose, so forth and so on. So we have to understand first and foremost who this documentary was about, and that is Michael Jordan.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
But you've had individuals like Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, individuals that were working the beat at the time, kind of echo the sentiments of several individuals on the team. They also felt that the Jerrys had their hands in way too much and way too often with the affairs of the players. The way they kind of handled the Pippen issue, I know we'll probably touch on that later, but there were many times over, they felt as though that the Jerrys could have done a better job. Clearly his ego was all over the place. He needed to be seen. He wanted to be honored. He wanted to be recognized and acknowledged for what he felt he did for the team. And at that point, when you feel like you're overstepping two Hall of Famers, Jordan and Pippen, when your value to the Chicago Bulls starting five is more than theirs, you have, in very few words, lost your mind.
But Johnny, I don't think that Krause, as far as what I've seen in the documentary, I don't think that Krause was expecting too much. Sure, the only player that he wasn't personally responsible for being on that team was Jordan. Every other player, every other coach on that team, that was his doing, Jerry Krause's. So maybe he should have got a little more respect. Look, he was flawed. He was flawed in the point that he wasn't capable of just standing in the background, say like a Jerry West. He couldn't do that.
Right.
So
right.
Even with that criticism, I think that the blame should be equally shared as far as who ultimately brought the dynasty to its end. I would argue that time brought the dynasty to its end, not necessarily Krause. I think it was time. And I can give you examples of what I'm talking about. I'm not just blowing smoke. I can actually run down this, that, and the third why I feel that it was time.
But before we let Marcus jump in here,
yeah, we need to get into that.
Before we let Marcus jump in here, I just want y'all four that already spoke to stop letting Jerry Reinsdorf off the hook too.
Yeah, and I was about to say that's one at the end.
And the ownership group could have shut all this down multiple times. But come on, Marcus, kick it.
Well, I think all you guys make valid points, but I kind of fall on both sides. Yes, Jerry Krause, he had a huge ego. You know, he was I kind of liken it to him wanting to like Puffy wanted to be in all the videos. He wanted to be in the forefront.
Yeah.
He wanted to be dancing and all that in the video.
Yeah.
But like you said, Edward, it's besides Jordan, he pretty much put everybody on that team. He brought Phil in as assistant coach. He put everybody on that team. And as far as was it time to break the dynasty? I kind of agree with Bill Belichick's idea of it. It's better to end it a year too early than a year too late. So, and Jordan, he was Jordan was probably at the end of his prime, and he still had a good couple years to go. But he was at the end. He was tired. He was mentally. You could tell he was very mentally tired. And Pippen was very unhappy about his contract. So maybe it was time.
But were they mentally tired because of the organization beat them down? Because they always had to fight for money. They always had to fight with Reinsdorf about contracts. Because, to me, Michael Jordan made $3 million or less every year that he played with the Bulls, except for the last 3 years where he held a pistol to their head and said, "You're going to pay me whatever I ask for or I'm leaving." Yeah. That was a crying shame. Scottie Pippen. Reinsdorf got off doing a whole lot of dirty stuff, treating kind of that old plantation mentality of y'all the workers, I'm the owner. Here, sign this contract. I'm gonna tell you it's a bad contract, and I'm gonna tell you up front. But sign it. If you don't sign it, then we're gonna replace you. What options are those?
Well, Big Reg, I don't know if that necessarily. I don't remember, at least in that documentary, where he said sign it or else. He advised Pippen not to sign it, and he also said, "Don't come back to me if you sign it. Don't come back thinking you're going to get a renegotiated contract." So,
but it didn't have to be that way.
I know. Look, but hey, that's business.
Not good business. Period. That's not good business.
But hold on. We talking about, is it not good business for you, or is it not good business for the man who owned that franchise?
Neither. Because they end up pissing everybody off and everybody left.
What the hell?
Right.
He got 6 rings out of him. Yes, I'm very serious. He got 6 rings out of him.
He could have gotten 7. Could have gotten 8. Never know.
Now no.
To end something before it's done is just asinine. I'm sorry. If you have the ability, you got the best player in the world. We know what Pippen did after that. He went with the Trailblazers, almost beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. So you still had talent on that team that could elevate them to some of the best in the league. To tear it up at the end because you want to stick by your guns that you sent 82 games and I'm still not going to let you come back. Let's just start at the end, because at the documentary, the beginning of this documentary, this is The Last Dance. It's talking about the last season. The reputation and the relationships between them and Krause had deteriorated over the years, because at the beginning they all had great relationships, but it soured with Pippen over the contract stuff. And then when it came down to him making that statement, it rubbed all the star players the wrong way. It rubbed Phil Jackson the wrong way. So I understood why they felt the way that they did. If he could have just lessened his ego just a little bit, and Sense said it just a few minutes ago, he had a bit of a Napoleon complex. I just think that it makes good business, whether you agree with it or not, to negotiate and change things to keep one of your best players, one of the 50 greatest players on your team, and then allow them to lose it on the court, not from your ego. I will always
check this out as well.
Okay.
And check this out as well. The players were happy with Phil Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
The players and the coach got along well. The issue is the general manager. He's several spots away. That means he has clearly overstepped his boundaries and was getting jealous of all the shine and the praise those guys was receiving. And he put himself in the middle of the atmosphere trying to steal some of that shine. There is no reason they shouldn't have played for a 7th championship. You're absolutely right. They should have been knocked off the top. But the reason they worked was because of Jerry.
That's not
my biggest problem is that Reinsdorf at the end, he wanted to call Phil and say, come back for a 7. He should have squashed that mess after he said that 82 game stuff at the beginning of the season.
But Professor J, Phil had already laid the groundwork to get the heck up out of there.
Did he have a
Because
choice?
Jerry didn't want him.
Let your boss tell you it don't matter what you do.
Phil did
Right.
not
You
want to
gone.
be. Phil did not want to be part of any rebuild. When they went in there after that season,
It wouldn't have been a rebuild.
and they had the medal. Yes, it would have been a rebuild.
No, it wouldn't have. If they sat down and really talked about it. Did you hear Jordan at the end? He says they could have worked it out and all of the star players would have came back and they would have competed for that 7th championship.
Well, I will, but I've said that. I said for 1 year, and it only would have been 50 games. They didn't start the season until February.
And that would have worked in their favor.
That would have been even better.
But hold up. But Phil did not want to coach that team. Even I don't care why
that went down.
No, Phil had designs in LA. Phil wanted to go to LA. Yes, he did. Because he didn't even want to coach the 97-98 season. He did not want to coach the 98-97.
And why did he coach it, Ed?
Because Reinsdorf got on his plane and went up to Montana and said, I need you to do this solid.
And all I'm saying is he could have did that at the beginning of that season and said, look, if y'all win it, we're going to run it back and we're going to do it again and see if you can do it a second time.
Phil did not want to be. Phil was a master manipulator. He did not want to be. He did not want to be on Chicago after 97-98.
I disagree.
He ran up to his ranch in Montana. He laid low for a year. He laid low for a year, right? So then he flew off to the third, I guess it was the third or fourth year that Shaq was in LA. He ran off there. They fired, I believe it was Dale Harris, LA. He inherited a close to his prime on the up. Well, Shaq was in his prime. Kobe was rising towards his prime, right? He was dating the owner by December in LA. Phil knew exactly what he was doing. If he wanted to be back in Chicago between 97 and 98, beyond 97, 98, beyond the Last Dance season, he could have been there at least one more year. The owner signed off on it. And Jordan, he ain't innocent. He was at fault.
You making my point for me.
No, Jordan.
You did.
Jordan had backed himself in a corner. He backed himself in a corner. And he was saying, well, I'm not going to play for anyone but Phil. And meanwhile, Phil making side deals in LA with Jeannie Buss.
I don't think you got any proof of that.
If you were told that you weren't coming back, even if you won 82 games, his behavior matched what he was told.
Look,
facts.
It's no question that the relationship soured between Krause, who brought Phil out of the slums. It's no question that their relationship soured back in 91. I guess it was 91 after when the Jordan Rules book came out. That's when their relationship went south, right? No question about that. But when Jordan came back for the second, after the baseball hiatus, Phil was already he was already surveying the league, trying to figure out where he was going next. I'm sticking with it.
Hey, Phil was trying to figure out where he was going to get paid properly. That's what that was all about. When you got to beg a team every year to pay you properly, and you done won not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. You done won 5 rings, and you got begged for your money. You should automatically been the highest paid coach. Period. And that's what Reinsdorf comes on being cheap.
And why in the world would a GM let his relationship sour with a head coach that does nothing but win championships?
Because
that's your job, GM.
He brought him on there. He was like, I found
He's supposed to. He's supposed to. So why you supposed to bring in a coach that goes 0-82? Sign that guy up for next year. Yeah. They're never going to do that. They're never going to do that. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but he definitely played his role into busting up one of the best teams we ever seen. And you think he would have been just a little bit more humble, being that you're hired to put a great product out on the court.
I made everyone on that team except Michael Jordan. I brought everybody. I found people
supposed to. He ain't making. Phil Jackson made that team. Phil Jackson. As a general manager, you can pick players to come in. That don't mean they're going to gel and play a world championship level. Look across any league.
Now,
That
I
don't
will
mean
tell
that's
you
gonna
the
happen,
greatness
Ed.
of Jerry. Now, this
Let's
is
end
where
this
I will
Krause
tell.
debate right here. He got his wish. He got to run his team his way. And what has Chicago Bulls done in the last 22 years?
Nothing.
They
No.
haven't found Michael Jordan. I mean, you need
There
a
is no
player.
other Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You need a horse. He hasn't had any horses.
Derrick
You know
Rose.
what it was? Jerry Krause pulled the same move in a way that the general manager out in Toronto did when he sent DeMar DeRozan away for Kawhi Leonard. See, he got a lot of praise for being risky. When Jerry got rid of the coach, Doug Collins, I believe, and he moved to the guy that was there right before Phil, who taught Phil the triangle offense. See, he wanted credit for that. That was a big move. As far as I'm concerned, Jerry, that was smart. That was tough. You get rid of the dude that Jordan loved because Jordan loved him. Why? He keeps the ball in my hands. Now you bringing in this coach and this system that takes the ball out of my hands, and I don't feel like I'm going to be as dominant. What ends up happening is they end up winning more championships than ever. Jerry wanted some respect for that. They wanted him to put some respect on his name, and it just didn't happen. But I give Jerry that. Those are some big moves. That was the genius of Jerry. He made smart moves. He just wanted to be acknowledged more than Mike Ford. Unfortunately, you're not. You're not this guy.
Speaking of that guy, let's talk about the branding of Jordan. Through the documentary, one of the things that really popped out at me is after the 92 Olympics, Jordan was already huge, but after the 92 Olympics, his life basically in the public pretty much ended. With the exception of him making appearances and all that, he had to stay in the house. Couldn't go out anywhere. My question to y'all is, obviously he's a billionaire, so financially it was worth it. But do you think that he regrets becoming so big that he couldn't have a life?
No. I would say no.
Okay.
Yes.
I would say no.
Yeah.
I mean, if he did,
would say,
if he did, he would have retired and stayed retired. But he kept coming back. I mean, he missed more than the competition, more than basketball. He missed the fame and everything that came along with it. He's the type of person that thrives in that environment. So no, he didn't regret it at all.
I think it's a catch-22. Sometimes you appreciate the fame. You want somebody to massage your pride, make you feel like you're the greatest person to ever touch the court in your life. But then at times you want to head out the house at 9:30, go in the pot belly, grab a sandwich, and be in and out back in the house. You can't have both. So I think it's a catch-22.
I think he regretted stepping away from the game and then and not continuing his career throughout. Because if he had, they probably would have had more than 6 rings.
Yeah.
What makes you think he regretted that? Because everything in the documentary I saw seemed like that was preordained that he was going to go play basketball because he was mentally tired of being Michael Jordan all the time on the basketball court.
Well, I mean, he did have aspirations of being a baseball player, and he did have that itch, and he was able to do that. But most players don't have that luxury. And I'm just saying, if he'd have stayed playing basketball throughout, I'm sure he would have had more than 6 rings.
He probably would have had 8.
Well, I think the pressure got to him periodically, and when he needed a break, he took one. But I think that just being on all the time and not and living in a fishbowl, so to speak, I think it got to him. I honestly believe it, and I think that's what led to his. I think the pressure combined with his father's passing, I think that led to his first retirement, and I think the second retirement, in addition to, he had already said that he wanted to play. He was not going to play for anybody but Phil. I think I think the pressure was getting to him at that point too.
So let me ask you this, Ed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because if you watch, and this conversation is based only on the documentary, and if the way I saw it is that the way I saw it was at the end of that 97, 98 year, It was so much. He had to play. He had to be a babysitter. He had to be. He had to play. You know, he had to be the defensive stopper. He had to be the offensive go-to. I mean, it was so much pressure that he had to deal with that I just think he just needed a break.
So let me ask you this, because prior to his first retirement, I mean, I understand he was worn down, but do you think if he'd have just trusted his team a little bit more than he did, he wouldn't be so worn down? Because you think about it, most of those players were role players, but they didn't have a big role. I mean, just like Ray said earlier, he had to have the ball in his hand. What if he just shared the rock a little bit more?
Well. First of all, when Phil got there and they installed the triangle, part of the reason they did that in the first place was to spread the ball and share the ball. But but getting back to the part with what you just said, if he was going to share the ball with in a critical situation, was he going to have to worry about somebody having a headache? Was he going to have to worry about Was he going to have to worry about somebody's back giving out? Always in critical moments.
Low blow.
You know, was he going to have to worry about finding his teammate in Vegas or in Detroit at Hulk Hogan's event? I mean, so he had to assume this responsibility.
Hey, do me a favor.
When you're the greatest, you have to.
Hey, do me a favor. Spell the word team and see if I's in that word.
You know what Kobe said.
But there's a damn sure I win.
Yeah, you know what Kobe said. Right.
Jordan said that too.
Yep, that's where Kobe got it from.
Matter of fact, man, I ain't gonna say the other part.
So all I'm saying, J3, the only thing I was trying to say is that he had a number two, but in crunch time, there had been times when the number two disappeared. The number three had disappeared. So,
but the number two was there more often than not, though.
Yeah,
that's why he wanted the 50 greatest. That's why he wanted the 50 greatest.
Well, is he one of the 50 greatest because he had? Well, yeah, was he one of the 50 greatest of anything he did on his own, or because he was the beneficiary of being on Jordan's?
I think he showed what he can do after Jordan retired twice. I think he showed two times what he could do.
He didn't win no championship.
I think he showed.
He got ran out of Houston in less than a year because he went to Houston first. He went to Houston first. Then he hightailed it to Portland. And he had a little success in Portland.
He had more than a little success. He had more than a little success.
He didn't beat Shaq.
Hey, what you saying about Scottie Pippen, my man?
He took him to Game 7, and they should have won that game. But don't act like Pippen didn't shine by himself. Come on, man.
But let's not. Ridiculous. But automatically putting Pippen in the top 50 of all time. That's not necessarily correct.
Why shouldn't he been? Who should have taken his place?
Look, we don't. This show ain't about going down the top 50 players.
No, we can make that a part of the next show. Who should have been in his place? But he's one of the top two-way players of all time. Who should have been in his place?
Exactly.
He very well could
be.
But he's not LeBron. But he's not LeBron, Kobe, Jordan. He's not that.
Well, who is
Nobody
LeBron,
said he was
Kobe,
the greatest, Ed, but he deserved to be one of the 50. He deserved to be one of the 50.
He's Batman and Robin.
Okay, let's bring it back to the Brandon.
But there's a reason he's Robin and not Batman, though.
That's okay. He's still one of the top 50.
Jordan often made the statement that the reason why he played every game the way he played and the reason why he always dressed the way he dressed is because he never knew if he was going to be seen in public or seen on the court for the first time by somebody and never wanted to disappoint them. Do you think that's maybe kind of a level of pressure that he put on himself? Because I mean, he's the icon. Jordan was fly every day, all day, custom-made suits. Look, he did it all. But I mean, to carry that pressure for 14 years, I don't understand how the man.
But that's what made him who he was. That's what made him. If he gave up any of that.
Absolutely.
Heavy is the head.
I was gonna say that's an attribute that we should all want to have. I mean, you should always want to represent your best at all times, and that's what he did. He brought it to the court every time that he played. So I don't think it's a bad attribute at all.
He would have never went for load management or some of the things that players do today. I mean, I understand his attitude towards the players of today.
But you got to understand where Jordan was raised. I mean, he basically a country boy. He had two parents that was strict, so to speak. I mean, it was like, look, you button up. You representing us, the Jordan name. You're not the Jordan that everyone knows, not the Michael Jordan, but the Mike Jordan. So for him to dress, to come out and look presentable, that's what it is, presentable. He just come from a bygone era that nowadays, I mean, it's a forgotten art. So that part, I don't know if it was too much. I think that was just in him to be like that way.
So you brought up the parents. I think that his parents were a huge influence in the background, like you said, Ed, what kind of made Jordan. And not only his parents, don't forget his big brother used to beat his behind in the backyard on all sports, to the point that they fought after almost every time they played anything together because the loser wasn't happy about losing. I think all that formulated together, which brings me back just real quickly to Pippen, Rodman. The Bulls organization knew the background of these guys. And again, to me, I think they took advantage of those guys and where they came from because they knew they could.
That makes sense. That's
just my opinion.
A lot of teams do that today, so it makes sense.
Well, but Big Reg, that's a business. That's just business. And I know, Johnny, I know you said earlier is the right way to do it and the wrong way to do business. But I mean, if my objective in a business is making money, then I'm going to do things that's advantageous to me. If along the way, and I'm not trying to be unethical or whatnot, or I'm not trying to be the bad guy, but if along the way I get a better deal because maybe I've done my research or I know where you coming from. If I dangle that carrot and you want to bite it, I'm gonna let you bite it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and let you bite it. And it's not my job to protect you from me. You need to hire.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That says a whole lot about your integrity, bro.
You need to read a book.
Sorry.
No, wow. You need to read a book. You need to hire a good attorney. You need to do your homework. It's not my. Why else do we hire an attorney? Why do we buy insurance?
Did you catch what David Stern said? Where was the NBA globally before Michael Jordan and the Bulls rose to their prominence? How many countries was the NBA in? Something like 80. After Jordan and the Bulls rose to prominence, it was like 250. So it makes a better business decision to me. And I'm just talking for me to keep the team together that gave me such global iconic success, the best player in the world, the best coach in the world, to keep that team together as long as I can, pay a luxury tax if that was back then, or anything that I had to do, push my ego down in order for me to, for what you said, to do the best business decision ever. Keeping that team together for a 7th championship run would have made more money than he got that next year.
But hold on. See, you think it's short. You think it's short term though, Professor J. Because
how's that short term? You ride your cash cow until you switch over.
I'm getting ready to explain it. The reason being,
business decision.
It's not a bad business decision because they get 30 years after he retired, they still got little kids wearing Jordan jerseys today that's never seen the man play. They only know old man Jordan with this
would have happened anyway.
They just know
that would have happened anyway,
and he's still making money.
But that would have happened anyway.
He
after year 7,
they're not wearing Bulls jerseys. They're wearing Jordan jerseys.
But they have Bulls. What kind of jersey you got on right now, Professor J?
It's Michael Jordan. It's not Tony Kukoc. It's not Craig Hodges. It's not BJ Armstrong.
So you don't think the Bulls are still getting some of that money?
They get
the argument is not the money. The argument is maximizing what they would have had in the 7th year running for a title.
This is all speculation, though.
They wouldn't have made money that 7th year.
No.
Let me ask you a question, Ed. Ed, have you ever heard the saying, all money ain't good money?
Unfortunately, yes. Yes.
See, sometimes in business, you have to overpay prime producing people to continue to make them happy and to continue to have them buy into being in the company to keep them around long term. That's a long-term investment to make short-term less money for a long-term investment. How would it be like if Michael Jordan was still with the Bulls organization?
Well, apparently, you mean as an ambassador or a decision maker? Because he can't make no decisions basketball-wise. now, as an ambassador,
Good point.
As an ambassador, yes, Jordan is the man. As an ambassador, you roll Jordan out in a wheelchair. And I don't want Jordan nothing to happen to Mike.
Even making bad decisions, they still would have been prime. I mean, Magic didn't make a lot of great decisions, but you don't see the Lakers stock going down.
No, but you see the Bobcats.
Ownership of a different team.
$1.5 billion.
We were talking about the Bulls.
And you notice Chicago continued to struggle to get stars to come out Midwest immediately after that.
Well, what Midwest team, what NBA team outside of the Miamis, the Lakers, like what NBA team do stars just flock to because they're in the middle of the country?
And that's what we saying. That's where they messed up. Had they kept Michael Jordan in the fold, Chicago still might be a prime destination for players.
Who got to live in Chicago?
Who want to live in Chicago? You send a sign to other players, and you send a sign to other players that if I play hard, do what I need to do, you're not going to pay me. There's no telling how he made other individuals feel that were possibly thinking about coming out to Chicago. You never know what type of team they could have had, what type of legacy they could have continued to build had he done fair business. Now, I understand and I respect your view, your opinion, saying he needs to protect himself against me. I get that. If you want to be in the business field,
I want to hear from Marcus, man. What's up, Marcus?
Well, I agree with Edward somewhat that it's your job to hire a good representation. Your job to hire a good agent, a good lawyer, to be able to protect you from. I mean, you know what it's about. It's about making money. It's about getting everything you can out of a player until you can't use him anymore, and then send him on his way. So it is your job as a player to hire good representation. That's what you hire a good agent for. So you don't sign those contracts like Scottie Pippen signed. Scottie Pippen signed that contract because he was out of fear. He's like, I got a family to support. You know, I don't want, and I don't know how you in fear and you're that young and playing basketball. You still had a lot of years. You could have held
the contract.
You had 8 people that you had to take care of at home, plus a crippled father. But I mean, and you come from Central Arkansas. They took advantage of him, taking advantage of somebody's good business.
He should have fired his agent when he signed that contract. He should have fired his agent.
Yes. He should have got.
Back in the day, the players didn't hold out. They didn't hold out back in the day. Players didn't understand their impact in the NBA like they should have back at that time. Nowadays, they understand that the only reason you're making money is because you had me on the court. LeBron did that. James Harden and them get that. Pippen didn't understand that back then. They would have held out. The football players, they do it all the time. These guys hold out and wait for the contract they feel as though they deserve because they understand I'm the player. These fans are not in here to see Jerry Krause short butt. They're in here to see me catch the oop off the backboard. So he manipulated Pip.
I don't see it. Pip signed that contract because he was scared. That's on him.
True.
And that's on him and his agent. That's on him and his agent. His agent should have had a lot more common sense than that. Let him sign that contract. His agent should have did everything he could to talk him out of that.
His agent didn't know what he was doing.
Say I hire you worth $50,000 at that time, $50,000 a year, right? You make me $50,000 a year, but in 3 years later on, you start making me $500,000 a year, and you want to have a conversation about the $50,000. Don't I deserve to sit down and have a conversation with you?
Yeah, you can have a conversation. I ain't gotta listen.
Right. So that shows that you're not appreciative, which is the reason why Pippen was so upset. And it's the
And that's
same
why
thing
Pippen was
goes
like,
for
I'm out of here.
anybody. If you feel that you're not being compensated of the way that you're worth, you will have a problem with that. That's just human nature.
I agree with you on
I
that.
feel you. All right,
Should have read
fellas,
the
we done
contract.
kick this around real good. One last point. Want everybody to answer a question for me and to give me your final thoughts on this before we move on to the next one. Which three-peat squad do you think was better? The 91-93 squad that featured Jordan, Pimpin, Grant, Paxson, Cartwright, Armstrong, Will Purdue, or the 96-98 team, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Harper, Longley, Kukoc, and Kerr? And then give me your final takeaways.
Before y'all answer, fellas, check y'all volume. I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah, I hear echo.
That's the dose
Okay,
of
go ahead.
Scottie Pippen's contract pass.
J3, who you got?
That's a hard one, but I'm gonna say that the second team was a little better, only because of the fact that I think Jordan relied a little bit more on his team than just himself and Pippen. So I'm gonna go with the second squad.
Yeah, second squad for me.
Who you got, Marcus?
Second squad.
I'm gonna say the second squad as well.
Okay. So nobody likes the original squad as
I
much,
like
huh?
number two.
Yeah, Horace Grant
Number
might be
one.
upset with our answer.
Number one got a lot of youthful athleticism, but the second squad got a lot of developed players, people who know their position and
Right,
can handle
cagey veterans.
adversity.
That's what I'm saying, man. There was more of a team effort. That second squad, woof, goodness, man.
All right, then.
I mean, and they
Your
were
last
clicking on all
thought,
cylinders too.
final takeaways, fellas.
All right, I got three. You said three. Kraus was a great GM. Phil was a master manipulator, and the Air brand and the success that it's having today proves that everything was worth it as far as what Jordan put into it.
My take on it was, I want all these millennials out here to watch this documentary. Let's put this thing to rest. Jordan, Kobe, then LeBron. That's my take.
I have no arguments with that three. So I would say what came out of this for me is a great appreciation for the Jordan brand and how iconic he became and how he paved the way for folks like Kobe and LeBron to follow in the footsteps of creating their brand and being a global icon. I also like to see the emotional and human side of Michael Jordan as well. I thought that went over very well for people to see who he was as a human being and not just somebody that was on the basketball court as a fierce competitor. And number three, and we probably debate about this, but that's fine. But I don't believe that every top athlete needs to be a political figure. So I didn't like how he was villainized for not stepping up like some other athletes, because there's a reason why we remember Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali. But there were many other athletes, top athletes, that didn't stand up for civil rights and things like that either. And we don't knock them. So we shouldn't do the same thing to Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods for that matter.
I hear you.
Tiger Woods.
Bring it on, Johnny.
He's on mute.
Uh-oh.
Get off mute, Johnny.
Off, Johnny.
I ain't mute you.
There you go.
Sorry, big thumbs. Well, that completely messed up my role. I overall enjoyed Michael Jordan speaking freely. You don't get to see that very often. He always gave great interviews when he was in the spotlight, but to actually take in account how he felt about certain things, certain scenarios, and the freedom they let him to use whatever language he felt at the time, allowing us to see how he really felt. I thought them letting us get that close to him was great. Outside of that, I enjoyed the show. Sorry, that mute messed me up, man. Messed up all my points.
All right. We got you, J3, right?
Nah, but I'm gonna give it to you real quick. So for me, I enjoyed the show because of the fact that I appreciate Mike Jordan's work ethic, and he made sure that he showed you the difference between a leader and a manager. I mean, this is a guy that gives you his all every day, all day, and he wants you to do the exact same thing. And because of that, it resulted in 6 rings. So that speaks volumes by itself. Secondly, I definitely want to say that, yeah, like you said about the politics. I was talking to G Money about this the other day, and yeah, depending on your upbringing and your awareness of social economics, back then, again, it was a different era. So he had to go through and endure a lot more than we had to go through now. And one of the things that G Money tried to say was that LeBron is more socially aware. I'm like, yeah, because you got to keep in mind where he grew up at. But I'm gonna digress on that. But I just think that Michael Jordan did what he could when he thought was right, and just keep in mind that even though he may not have verbally supported that individual that was running for office, he still donated. So he did give to that person that was running. And lastly, hands down, he's the greatest of all time in basketball. Period. Nobody else can touch him.
I feel you. I feel you. We ain't gonna get into that. We ain't gonna get that. Keep that moan to yourself. Keep that moan to yourself.
Y'all
I
wasn't supposed
just
to hear that.
I just like to end this segment by what jumped out to me the most was at the end of uh, number 7 when Jordan got emotional. Now you can interpret it a whole lot of ways, but what I saw and based on what he said about leadership has a cost, trying to be the greatest has a cost, and if you don't like the way I did it, then don't do it. I think at that moment you actually got to see Jordan realize that the sacrifices he made being Michael Jordan were huge and it cost him a lot of things, probably including his first marriage, and that he really had some regret and sorrow about that, but he couldn't
Right.
change because he was who he was, and
Yeah.
that's why he had to say break and get out of there.
Yeah,
That passion was there. He definitely shared it too. That's a good point.
Hmm.
You're
yeah.
right.
Good job. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Pippen sitting out that last play. If I just want to throw that in, that threw me off.
man,
I can't believe he did that.
y'all
My
gonna get
point is,
off Pip. Y'all gonna get off Pip, man. Leave Pip alone.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, as if other players never had any attitude issues.
So let's talk
You
about the
absolutely
Showtime
right.
special that kicked off this Saturday, Basketball County.
PG baby,
That's right.
PG
PG
In the
County
water.
got the spotlight,
represent.
and I was happily surprised at the job that Kevin Garnett, I mean Kevin, I keep saying Garnett, Kevin Durant, Quinn Cook, Victor Oladipo, and the boys did, trying to bring some shine and some light and some notoriety back home to PG County. Um, I basically saw it in about 4 different segments that how they kind of broke down the documentary. They paid homage to DC, who birthed the PG County basketball program. They paid homage to the PG County Department Recs and Park, which was
Hmm.
huge.
Mhm.
They paid homage to my alma mater, basketball,
Hmm.
high school basketball heaven, the Mather Catholic High School. And
Boo.
then
Second
the
home.
explosion
Boo.
of rec slash AAU basketball in the area nationwide
Big deal.
really changed PG County. So I mean, I'm gonna open it up. What y'all think about the the special?
Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this real quick. Growing up in this area, one thing that I definitely will say is the fact that, and they made this known in the documentary, was the amount of parks and rec centers that they have throughout the state, but also throughout the county. And when I lived in Baltimore, that was one of the things that I really missed was the amount of rec centers that they had down here compared to up there. So I definitely want to give them kudos to that.
Well, I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and watch the show, but I did spend a lot of my childhood personally in the recreation centers playing for Glen Arden Recreation League, as well as run and shoot. Run and shoot saved lives. If
Hmm.
they touched on run and shoot, it saved lives. For
Yep.
$7, you can go
Right.
inside a gym, 10 to 12 courts, a weight room, and you can be in there 24/7.
Yep.
24/7. It took plenty of kids off the street. And it didn't matter what time we got there. It could be 7 in the morning or 3 in the morning. It was
Yep.
packed. And you used to
Agreed.
see some of the most amazing ball players come through there. Guys from the league, the and one basketball team, when they was going from state to state on their
Hmm.
tour a little bit in the early 2000s, they used to come through there as well. So I totally agree with him. It's not surprising to me that PG County is finally getting some shine, but they can go back a little further than they. If they're starting with just the lives of KD and whatnot, they can go back farther than that. The DMV area has been putting out stellar athletes across the board, not just in basketball, but football as well.
Yeah, they went back to
Agreed.
Walt Williams and Lenny Bias as
Beautiful,
well. I think
beautiful.
one of the
Agreed.
things that triggered for me from the documentary, it was good first and foremost, but it also made me a little bit upset because that generation that came behind the Walt Williamses and the Lenny Biases, they went to different schools. The
Yes.
recruiting in this area really didn't pull them in to the local colleges and keep our talent home. I mean, KD went to Texas for goodness sake. I mean, to
Hmm.
have these boys grow up right in our backyard, you
He got
saw them
paid.
play AAU. Yeah, they got paid. You saw them play AAU ball. You saw them all over the rec centers, all over the playgrounds, but yet we allowed them to leave out of here. When Big John retired, I mean, Georgetown did a pitiful job at bringing in any of our local talent. And then Gary Williams, we already knew he shunned the local talent for some reason. He wasn't
Hmm.
really big in recruiting. So to see those amount of NBA players, quality players that also went on to win championships, it really just got a frog stuck in my throat a little bit.
Professor
And
J, how do you
I
feel about the outlook that a lot of times individuals don't want to stay home because they feel as though they run a greater risk of getting into trouble, getting off schedule,
Right,
messing up the great opportunity they have. How do you feel
right.
Good
about that?
point.
Right, you
well,
Good
made a
point.
good point. And I think I was talking to Joe or Big Reg about that. I said I didn't blame them for wanting to leave this area because of what happened to Lenny Bias. Because a lot of players after that felt that they could get caught up in the go-go scene, get caught up in the drug scene, get caught up in the shootouts and stuff like that. Because if you remember during the time of Lenny Bias, I think that was right near or after Rayful Edmond got taken to prison and stuff like that because the crack era was terrible here. So having a
Hmm.
lot of players want to get out of this environment, I mean, I didn't blame them.
me personally, as an outsider, um, I always wondered. I always had concerns of like why couldn't the local schools, like you said, Professor J, keep their talent? It always bothered me. Um, but again, I really didn't know the background of what was going on. But to what you were saying, Johnny, I don't agree that the local schools, the Maryland, Georgetown, GW, I don't believe that they can't keep their talent here because if you look at like say football programs in the big time programs like Ohio State and Alabama and those type schools, their main goal is they have to keep their in-state talent. And so my thing is why can't they do that in basketball as far as these local schools as far as keeping some of that talent here in Maryland, the DMV per se.
Y'all
One
really
thing
want
I
to get
Most of
into
them
that?
didn't.
Because we
Most
can
of
get
them didn't
into
get.
it.
They didn't think they were gonna get the time that they wanted to actually show their talents.
Had nothing to do
Big
with it.
Red, drop the bomb. Drop the bomb, Big Red.
Yeah, drop that
Please.
bomb.
With the when rec league ball started getting big and the rec league coaches became more powerful than the high school coaches, then the rec league coaches started wanting some more shine. First, it was coaching positions. When the shoe companies got
Right.
involved in the situation, because Mike was blowing up, and the shoe company started giving AAU teams money to finance the AAU teams.
True.
Now the coaches wanted money. Gary Williams wasn't going to pay anybody.
Right.
And that's been put through multiple times. That's why Gary Williams couldn't get anybody from the AAU product, because he didn't want to play the games that some of these AAU coaches were playing. I mean, Mike Beasley, who is prominent in this show, Kansas State. How the hell Mike Beasley get to Kansas State?
You're right. You could have been at
Texas.
GW for crying out loud.
Right.
Well, if you want to be a big boy, you got to play like the big boys.
You have a point.
There are some programs that think they shouldn't have to. Maryland still was a historical program. That's the way Gary felt about it.
Right. And they wanted
I
to stay
respect Gary
clean.
for that, though.
But
You
I mean,
got
Vernon
anything
still
to
get
add
a
in,
hype.
Marcus? You
Gary
kind of
or
quiet
Ralph
over there,
Friedman?
Butler.
I think watching it because I watched it earlier today, and I didn't know that so many players had came out of PG County that went to the NBA. So I'm proud of that, because I was born in DC, but raised in PG, and just actually part of this that stuck out to me most was the history of because I was born in '73. I didn't know that the whole migration from DC to PG started after the Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. So that was very insightful, and that's probably what I took most from it. I thought that was very interesting. I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the black migration to PG County started after the riots when we burned down a third of the city.
Mm-hmm.
The families who thought that they could do better and trying to give a better opportunity and a better life to their children moved out to PG County, and that's why PG County became the richest black county in the country.
My other take from that is, it was real good to see Durant open up that Durant Center last year. That's really big. That's what you call giving back to the neighborhood right there. He really gave back, and I haven't seen it or been there, but from what they were describing, it's a huge place, and it's exactly what our youth need.
Yeah, he upgraded the Seat Pleasant Community Center first, and then he did that project. So yeah, he certainly does give back. True.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was part of his $300 million Nike deal package that they built that community center for him, and will continue to help financing that. So yeah, that was huge. I also like the fact that they said that all the OG PG County basketball players looked out for each other, and they always came back looking out for the young folks. So I mean, that was cool to me. But we can't talk about PG County without talking about Morgan Wooten and DeMatha.
Yeah, we can. No, but go ahead.
Come on,
Yeah, no, I'm about to say
Come
we
on,
can,
man.
but I ain't gonna be disrespectful. I won't be disrespectful.
Come
No,
on,
we
man.
can, man. Go ahead and talk about your alma mater, bro. Put your chest out. Go ahead, put your chest out.
All I'm saying, and I got to be real, there was a whole lot of basketball players that went to DeMatha that probably should have never been there. And for a Catholic school that didn't give scholarships, there was a whole lot of people that ended up, and their families ain't had the money to pay for DeMatha. But that's how, if you want to be a big boy, you got to play like the big boys.
That's what
And
I'm saying.
Is that what you said, Mark?
Yep.
But I mean, in all seriousness, I graduated at DeMatha in '86. When I'd gotten there, Morgan Wooten had gone 14 years straight that everybody who made the varsity basketball team, not played, not started, who made the varsity basketball team, got a full ride college scholarship somewhere.
That's strong.
That's very strong.
That's strong.
That's beautiful, but there's a lot of mad NCAA coaches. Who sent me this kid? Wooten? He's one of the Wooten boys.
Wooten was also one of the big guys behind the Capitol Classics.
Yep.
And then behind the
I didn't know
McDonald's Classics.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Now, that's impressive. That's impressive. I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And that Capitol Classics was something to talk about.
Mhm.
Oh man, I used to love going to the Cap Center watching the U.S. All Stars versus the D.C. or Metro All Stars. Man, You- we got to see Bias against Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all was it. I was in the building for that. That was crazy. Them boys going back and
How was
forth.
that? How was that?
Jordan
How
went
did Lynn
off.
look?
Jordan
Really?
went off,
Wow.
and Bias went right at him.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I mean, Magic played in that game. I mean, a whole bunch of future Hall of Famers came to DC to play in that game. So I mean, that was just huge. That was huge.
And another big one was that I found interesting. I didn't know was that the Mather beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's basketball team in high
I
school.
didn't
From
know
New
that
York.
either.
From New
From New
York.
York, yeah.
I believe that was his only loss in high school.
It was.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So we started getting some respect for the New York boys when that happened, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And every time a team comes down here from New York, the DC team or the PG County team make sure they put it on them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I used to love watching them AAU tournaments out Greenbelt and whatnot. Soon as they got a team from up north, I don't care if it was New York, Jersey, Pennsylvania, they was out there to tear them up. They wanted to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it.
All right. So, any last thoughts on Basketball County before we hit things that caught our eye this week?
Make another one.
Wow. Hey, KD got enough money. He can make as many documentaries as he wants to these days.
Still can. Still can.
So one thing I want to hit as far as what caught my eye this week, and I just want to give a shout out to a couple of items, and I'll leave the rest to y'all. But my man Dana White did his thing. He pulled off 3 events in 8 days, became the first to bring live real sports back to the U.S., and has made a huge impact. They had the most money wagered over the weekend on the Saturday ESPN fight than they'd ever had before. Boxing's in trouble, fellas. Boxing's in trouble unless they come back real quick. And I want to give we talking about keeping local talent. Well, this guy isn't local, but he's coming to the Maryland area. I got to give a shout out to my man, Mike Loxley, the head coach of the University of Maryland Terps, for bringing in my man, Talia Tagovailoa, transfer quarterback from Alabama, soon to be the starter of the Maryland Terps. And under Mike Loxley, I expect him to be a #1 draft pick. And once he goes through he's applying right now to see if he can play immediately. But if he can't play immediately, has to sit out a year. Give him 2 years, and the Terps are going to be trouble.
Against Ohio State and Penn State? Come on, man.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Mike
Maybe the rest
Loxley
of the Big
kept
Ten.
3 of the top 5 players from the area home this year in his first full-year recruiting. Terps coming back, fellas.
It's going to be hard against Penn State and Ohio State. Wisconsin, Nebraska.
They already got a good defense, so that should just add to them.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
All right. Anything catch your eye this week, Professor?
Oh, well, I wanted Ed to go first because I was going to take what he didn't mention. Go ahead, Ed.
Come on, Big Ed.
All I'm going to say is just going to be short and sweet. 2 things. First of all, the NFL should be ashamed of themselves. It shouldn't be this hard. I'm going to leave that. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I'm challenging my Phil Jackson. I wrote down a little something. I'm burning it. I'm burning it, and I'm putting it out. It's gone. That's it. I'm burning it. It's gone. It's over. That's all I'm going to say.
You better put that fire out, boy.
Right.
It's out. It's out.
All right, just making sure. All right, so as promised, I was going to take what he didn't. I just want to remind us all that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's something that we really wanted to highlight. I think that we need to make sure that, especially during these times of COVID, that we really, keep each other in prayer. We lend a helping hand where it's needed and talk to one another. Find out what's going on with each other because some people are struggling in ways that we might not know that they're struggling, and get them the help that they need. And if that's you, then you got a collective of brothers here that have listening ears, kind hearts, and we can point you in the right direction if we can't help you ourselves personally. But big up to everybody who recognizes that this is a serious ailment that we have to attack collectively.
Cool. Big Johnny.
Yes. First, Professor J, I love that you brought attention to that. That was beautiful. Two things. First and foremost, as you all know, many states and counties, cities have relaxed their social distance laws. We ask you to stay vigilant, continue to protect yourself, put your safety and your family first, so that our nation can heal together and we can get back to going outside. Secondly, during these times, fellow co-host J3 is selling catfish dinners on Friday, Saturday, and
You the man, Johnny. You the man. Oh my! It's true, but it's true.
You funny, Johnny. You funny. Oh my goodness. You got anything for us, Marcus?
Yeah, what caught my eye this week is all these NFL players getting in trouble, getting themselves in some very serious legal trouble
good point.
for no reason at all. I mean, come on, you got your life ahead of you, you're making good money, you got opportunity to take care of yourself and your family. Leave those streets alone, leave them behind. They are not your friends, they got nothing for you. There's no excuse for when you got a future ahead of you like that you doing dumb stuff, armed robberies, over $70,000. You an NFL player with $1 million contract, and you tripping over $70,000. If you don't want to lose it, don't gamble.
Wow.
And it's just that's just sad that we, and it's always us. It's never, it seems like we never learn and leave those streets alone.
Mm-hmm.
Very wise words.
I want to ask a clarity question. Quentin Dunbar gambled away $70K, and he tried to rob the person for it back
with no mask or nothing.
That's an OJ move. That's an OJ move.
Wow. They left, came back in one of their luxury cars, no mask or nothing, and just decided they're gonna rob for $70,000.
Moron.
Everybody got masks these days.
You ain't you wear your own mask. Try to throw them off a little bit.
What you got for me, J3?
So, like I said, I'm a boxing fan, and I heard Danny Garcia is trying to come back and wants to fight either Pacquiao or Earl Spencer. And I'm like, I don't know if you really want to do that, but you might want to think twice about that. And then y'all know about Tyson supposed to be exhibition Shannon Briggs and Evander Holyfield.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't want to see no 50-year-old men out there trying to fight.
Right, the over the hill game.
I want to see Tyson fight. He's looking good in the videos. Now I understand it's not against a live opponent, but he's looking good in the videos, man.
For 10 seconds,
I feel good in my body.
I look good in the video.
So yeah, that was.
Before we get out of here on our final post, one thing we definitely got to mention, and it was brought up on the chat, and I thought one of you guys was going to mention it, so I'm going to put it out there. Hats off to LeBron James, former President Barack Obama, for doing the graduation celebration for the 2020 graduates who didn't get an opportunity to have their day in the sun. I mean, that was tremendous of what they did, put on all the broadcasts.
Congratulations.
You talking about somebody who's committed to helping the community. May not be the best basketball player ever, but when it's all said and done, we may look at LeBron as being having the biggest impact to ever play
Does LeBron
basketball.
become
He
does
top three.
LeBron become a GOAT if he has a stable household, then goes to Dean Smith, then goes to the Chicago Bulls under Phil Jackson, and that coach also happens to go to LA and win 5? You think if LeBron had that stability, could he be GOAT? I'll leave that for the next show.
Like I said, man. Yeah, I mean,
Wow. You just gonna drop it right there.
Show.
Wow.
It's a question.
Uh-oh, Reg.
he dropped out.
I must have got him upset.
Nah, actually, I see him on YouTube. He's still on YouTube. I don't know what happened.
That's a delay on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the delay. Come on back, Reg.
Kobe had a pretty stable household too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
You know, you look at Kobe and Phil's career. I mean, Kobe and Michael's career. The real MVP is Phil Jackson.
Man, 11
he know
championships.
how to win them back to back to back. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
11.
That's the real MVP.
Again, he put those. I mean, he made sure that he used every player to their potential to win a championship.
Absolutely. He was doing. He knew how to handle those egos. Unlike Jerry, he knew how to handle those.
All right. Well, I don't think we're going to get Big Reg back tonight.
Yeah, he's not. Go ahead and close it up.
So I'd like to thank all for tuning in and listening this evening. Marcus, thanks for coming on and hanging out with us for a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, man.
We appreciate your time and opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. Please tune in next Tuesday at 7 p.m. for our next live show. You can also download the show via Facebook or YouTube. Please subscribe to and like our new YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Positions on Sports. We would greatly appreciate if you could tell your friends, family, and social media contacts about our show. Please have a good evening and a great week. This has been the Positions on Sports Talk show on the Post YouTube channel.
Appreciate you, Marcus.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, Marcus. Love y'all.
Appreciate you, man.
The show.
Bless y'all.